Live from the KWQC Broadcast Center, this is TV6 News at 6.
We are covering breaking news tonight, a train derailment in Galena. Thanks for being here with us. I'm Paula Sands.
And I'm Gary BTVA. Let's get the latest right now as you look at that explosion behind us. KWQC's Mark Stevens is live on the scene with the very latest for us right now. Mark?
Gary, we're at the incident command location, which is not accident, but what you can see the plume of smoke from the still burning fire from that oil train. Now here at Incident Command, we've got all kinds of people here. There were 7 fire departments here earlier. Now we've got state police, we've got hazmat crews, the railroad is here, all kinds of environmental officials. We were told EPA is on its way from Chicago. The railroad is bringing in crews from Minneapolis as well as Chicago, all to respond to this train derailment and spill. Now we do have the city administrator of Galena here joining us, who's going to answer just a couple more questions for us. Mark, first, we know that there was derailment. How many cars actually derailed?
There were 8 cars derailed on a 7,000-foot long train, and 2 of those cars are believed to be on fire. We have seen a couple of explosions already.
We know that crews got pulled away from that because of the fire and explosion hazard, but it sounds like Galena was able to get there initially.
Yeah, our fire crews and local hazmat crews were on the scene. They began actually attempting to extinguish the fire on the one crude car. They were, just as they started, the flames really took off, the smoke took off. They immediately backed off the scene and got away to a safe distance.
Now, we know from the aerial, Matt, that's a really remote area. I'm just curious, how did they get out there? Because there wasn't a direct road.
There actually is a railroad service road that they're able to access, as well as our Galena River bike trail took them right to the site.
Oh, how quickly were they able to get there once you guys got the call, do you know?
They were there within the first 45 minutes, I believe.
And then as far as any spill, we've covered a lot about worrying about chemicals and oil getting into the river in case of these kinds of accidents. What's the scene like? I know from the aerial map it looks like it's close to the backwaters, but it sounds like there's some land and stuff in there to kind of buffer that. Yeah,
the tracks are not right on the Mississippi River. There are backwaters with some islands. The photos I've seen of the scene do not show any cars that are on water. They're all on land, but I don't know the extent or whether there's any spillage or damage to the environment down there.
Got it. And obviously I didn't let you get into that meeting, but I'm curious, do we know what the efforts are going to be for the rest of this evening?
We are our first incident responders here, the fire department. They're communicating with the BNSF, railroad officials, and we're really on standby until we receive instruction from them. But it's very likely we'll not be back near the scene of the explosions tonight.
Got it. Thank you so much, Mark. That's Mark Moran, City Administrator for the City of Galena. Reporting live in Galena, Mark Stevens, KWQC TV6 News.
All right, Mark, while we have you there, as we look at the image that we're seeing behind us here as well, this was taken from just north of Bellevue, Iowa, across the river. Of course, the situation where Mark is right now, just south of Galena in Illinois. And Mark, you've been on that scene now for a couple of hours. There's a lot of work going to go into this, as you mentioned, throughout the night tonight. And you also indicated a very remote area, no houses from what you have seen in that area. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. No houses. It is that remote area, but there is, as the city administrator told us, an access road, which we couldn't see from the map. So we know that BNSF is going to be bringing their environmental contractors and their equipment to get down there and to respond overnight and probably into tomorrow. The problem is they've got to wait really for the fire to burn out. You know, if you look at the U.S. DOT emergency response guide, whenever you have a tank car that has chemicals or things that are flammable, really the response is if you can get water on it, get it there unmanned, and then stay away about a half mile.
Hey, Mark, we're looking at some aerial footage right now that actually shows what looks to be a lot of trees on fire in that area, potentially, wow, as they pull out there, what a great shot, potentially as a result of that oil spilling into the fields there and into that heavily forested, if you will, area. We see there's a lot of bluffs in that region, too. That fire now could become something totally different. There is ice on the ground, which perhaps could keep the fire at bay, but Galena's a very small department. They must be calling on additional resources for the fire part alone.
Yeah, in fact, they had 7 different fire departments and hazmat departments come down earlier this afternoon. A lot of them have gone home when there was things that they couldn't do. The hazmats actually didn't need to do a whole lot because this turned into basically a fire scene. There wasn't anything leaking into the river. We do know from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they told us that they weren't aware of any oil that had gotten into the river, which makes sense given some of the topography in the area. Of course, if there is brush burning, once they get the fire out, typically the treatment for that will be scooping it up with excavators and landfilling that. That's pretty much all you can do to clean up a spill like that.
Mark, thank you. We'll let you get back to work, gather more details, and we'll check back in a little bit later in the newscast. Right now, we want to go deeper into some of the environmental aspects of this. The train derailment scenario TV6 investigated back in August. Trains cut through the Quad Cities carrying a lot of crude oil like that train did, and ethanol like we saw just a couple of weeks ago. Up to 42 oil trains run every week through Joe Davies and Carroll counties alone. In August, first responders told us if there was an accident, they feared they would not have enough equipment on hand to react to such a spill.
The railroads have always been a hazard to start out. There's always been that challenge for the community, so it's something we've always been aware of. Our capabilities to deal with a major crude oil spill are pretty limited.
The train company involved in that accident told us at the time the company has contractors in place to address any hazmat situations. The nearest company crews were in Galesburg in Chicago. We do understand as well today BNSF releasing this statement a few hours ago saying in part responders were on the way to the scene. Also a quick note, we checked in with our water companies too. They tell us so far they haven't heard of the water concerns coming this far south yet, but we'll stay on top of that as perhaps the booms go into effect tonight if indeed the oil is on the water. Also, when we investigated the story back in August, hazmat crews told us they had not enough containment booms to catch a spill if it were to get into the Mississippi. We will, of course, continue to bring you coverage of this story on air and online at kwqc.com. Be sure to also check our Facebook and Twitter pages for any new information on this very developing story.
This also just into our newsroom tonight. Davenport police say 2 people have died from probable drug overdoses. They were found in a home on Arlington Avenue, and officers believe overdose is the likely cause of death. Since the first of this year, Davenport police have responded to 17 potential heroin overdoses. Just yesterday, we told you about 3 overdose deaths in Dixon, Illinois. Police there are investigating if the source is a more potent or tainted batch of heroin. A newly formed group of city and county officials discussing now how to handle the heroin problem in Lee County. Cities in Illinois may lose millions in tax revenue. Governor Rauner wants to cut in half the income tax money the state shares with local governments. A concern is public safety and cuts to police and fire budgets. KWQC's Courtney Yoon is here with more on that. Courtney?
Paula, take a look at these numbers. Just in the Quad Cities, East Moline is looking at nearly over $1 million in cuts. Moline over $2 million, and Rock Island just under $2 million. Today, mayors in Northwest Illinois met in Dixon to discuss these possible cuts. Dixon could face nearly $1 million in cuts, Fulton just under $200,000, and Rock Falls nearly $500,000. This means cities either have to raise taxes or cut their budgets, which boils down to cuts in the basic necessities, police, fire, and public works.
There's always going to be cutbacks.
That would have a devastating effect on our budget or anybody's budget.
It could be layoffs.
Mayors in Northwest Illinois looking at the worst case scenario, losing half of income tax money it shares with the state. The effects could be severe.
I would hate to have to tell our residents that we're thinking about taking away the number of firemen on duty or the number of policemen on duty, because as you well can imagine, that leads to problems that you don't want to have to deal with either.
Dixon Mayor Jim Burke says streets won't be fixed and they might have to reduce staff.
I just think it's something that the state, which has totally mismanaged its funds and money, are now going to shove a lot of this problem down on the municipalities that have done a very good job of watching their costs and expenses.
While the state tightens its belt, so too must local governments. Those governments are currently sitting on more than $15 billion in cash reserves. Think about that.
In Fulton, Mayor Larry Russell says citizens will help decide some of their cutbacks.
We'll have to set some new priorities and maybe we have to sell some of our land too. It's just an unfortunate situation that we have to live with less, and we'll do it.
Rockfall's Mayor Bill Westcott says they're moving forward with their budget as if none of this was happening. They have reserves they can fall back on, but only for a short while.
Development stops. You aren't able to do new community improvement projects. You become less responsive to businesses that are trying to come in.
Income tax money goes into the general fund for cities, which is primarily comprised of the budgets for police and fire. That's why those departments in particular are facing cuts. Mayors say they're hoping there will be compromise along the way with lawmakers, and the proposed cuts won't be nearly as bad as they seem now.
Iowa budget cuts are affecting jobs right now. More than 36 employees at the Mount Pleasant Mental Health Facility got their layoff notices today. Their jobs end April 6th. The new state budget cut off funding for the Mount Pleasant facility. Patients there now will be moved to a facility in Independence, Iowa. A Davenport man is pleading guilty to sexual abuse. Tyshawn Van Blue struck a deal with prosecutors in a case involving a resident at the Handicap Development Center. In return for the guilty plea, prosecutors agreed to drop Van Blue's 5 counts of sex abuse in another county. Sentencing is April 15th.
Jeremy Erickson from Bettendorf has been arrested facing sexual abuse and exploitation charges. Police say he fondled a 5th grade student back in 2010. Now faces charges for using his cell phone camera to record a 16-year-old girl taking a shower. He is out on bond.
Still to come at 6 tonight, veterans helping other veterans with post-traumatic stress, a cause and condition that hits home for so many. And another look at the aerial view there from that train derailment in Galena tonight. The fire, the explosion there. We are live on the scene. Crews say right now the 105-car train was carrying mostly crude oil. We do know no one was hurt.
And single-digit lows, wind chills below 0 tonight, but looking forward to a nice warm-up ahead. Details coming up in your First Alert forecast.
You're watching Gary Mativier and Paula Sands. This is KWQC TV6 News at 6. And now, the Quad Cities' most reliable forecast with Teresa Bryant.
Well, the sun on its way down, and so are those temperatures. Those readings only getting into the teens this afternoon, now at 12 degrees with northwest winds at 6 miles per hour. Readings ranging from 6 degrees in Dubuque to 11 in Macomb, 16 in Keokuk, 10 degrees in Galesburg. Factor in the winds, feels like 0 in Monticello, -7 in Dubuque. So the wind chill's already getting down below 0 in many locations. Single digits on tap for tonight, followed by sunny and milder conditions as winds shift out of the south, pumping some of that warm air northward. We'll see warmer temperatures ahead over the next several days. Right now, looking at mostly clear skies, lots of sunshine out there today, just not much in the way of warmth. Clear skies expected to continue through the evening and into the overnight as we see those wind chill values dipping down below 0. In fact, down as cold as 10 below in some locations before rebounding as those winds shift out of the south and southwest. And we finally see temperatures getting above 0 and actual wind chill values reaching into the double digits through the afternoon hours. For tonight, overnight lows near 3 above under mostly clear skies. We'll see wind chills down near 10 below 0. Daytime highs reaching 30 degrees in Dubuque, 34 in Savannah, 33 in Monticello. To the south, a reading of 38 degrees expected in Macomb, 38 in Burlington, 40 in Keokuk. And for the Quad Cities, we'll see highs near 35 degrees, mostly sunny skies with southwest winds moving at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now look at your 7-day outlook. Look at these temperatures warming up quite nicely for Saturday, a reading of 39 degrees under mostly sunny skies. Sunday, some clouds moving in. A slight chance for a few sprinkles. Other than that, highs near the 40-degree mark, readings well into the 40s on Monday. And 50-degree temperatures expected for Tuesday and Wednesday. Readings a lot warmer than our normal high of 43 degrees.
Still to come at 6 tonight, a recent bill commemorating a fallen veteran, how a local man is making sure his friend's legacy lives on.
And continuing our breaking news coverage right now, we know that 6 homes have now been evacuated. So there are some homes around that site of that train derailment near Galena. Crews have evacuated homes and pulled back crews 1 mile from the fire now. The train was carrying crude oil when it derailed.
A bill signed by President Obama last month is designed to help veterans with post-traumatic stress syndrome.
The Clay Hunt law is named after a Marine who took his life after returning home. KWQC's James Stratton reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, today marks an historic event for the veteran community.
A historic day last month when Iraq and Afghanistan veteran Jake Woods stood next to the president and remembered his friend, Clay Hunt.
Clay Hunt was an amazing young man, and in many ways it is fitting that we are here today to sign a bill into law with his name on it.
After struggling with PTSD, Clay took his own life in 2011, 2.5 years after coming home from the Middle East.
You start to feel guilty about all the things that you could have done. Because, we knew Clay was struggling. And at the end of the day, he lost that battle. And that's a burden that everybody that was close to him in his life is going to have to bear, is what else could have been done.
The bill, signed into law last month by President Obama, is hoping to answer that question for other soldiers struggling with PTSD and their families and friends. It's officially named the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for American Veterans Act and adds more to mental health in VA clinics in a few ways.
One of the best things it does is its effort to get mental health professionals into the VA. They've got a tuition reimbursement program going on so that mental health professionals graduating from college who come to work for the VA can get student loan forgiveness.
It makes it easier for veterans to find the care they need when they need it. And it includes strict accountability measures so we can track and continually improve these efforts as we learn more.
And it creates a centralized website for veterans to go to for mental health resources, all designed to help our veterans when they need it.
As a nation, we should not be satisfied, will not be satisfied until every man and woman in uniform, every veteran, gets the help that they need to stay strong and healthy.
While remembering a friend and soldier.
Clay wasn't perfect. He was human just like the rest of us. He had his quirks, but he was a good human being. And, we'd be better if we still had him. Unfortunately, we don't.
James Stratton, KWQC, TV6 News.
Wood is also co-founder of Team Rubicon, which is a nonprofit organization with nearly 25,000 veterans that trains military veterans for disaster response. Wood says it gives the veterans a sense of purpose and community that they are looking for. For more information on Team Rubicon, we have a link on our website right now at kwqc.com.
Sports time up next. The awards keep rolling in for the Northern Iowa basketball team. Plus, Minneapolis tries to break through in the state semifinals. Highlights from the state tournament in Des Moines. Up next.
And another perspective, this from the Chestnut Mountain Ski Resort, of the fire near Galena after a train derails. Some of those rail cars on fire with oil burning tonight.
You're watching Sports with Ben Rosehart.
It's been a tough 24 hours for two of our local girls' basketball teams.
Yeah, but they've been mainstays, though. They're great programs at Burlington, Notre Dame, and Minneapolis. Wow.
That's right, and both teams making it to the state semifinals. Yesterday, the Nikes were sidelined in the 1A state semis, and now in 3A today, Nevada gives the Minneapolis Bullets a run for their money as well. Let's check out the highlights from Des Moines. The Bullets in the semifinals for the second year in a row, but this was a defensive struggle in the first half. First quarter, Andrea Larson, the senior, working hard down low. She helps Minneapolis get the early lead, but Nevada responds with an 8-0 run. Abby Stevenson, two of her team-high 18 in transition. Cubs up by 6. The Bullets fight right back. Larson, another jumper. She had 22 points to lead all scorers, also had 11 rebounds, but Nevada's up by 3 at the break, 16-13. Third quarter, Ashley Hedges finds Allie Massner. She's free for 3. We're tied up at 22 apiece. Next, Meepo possession. It's Darby Massner. She's in the drive-through lane. She'll get 2 to fall. We're tied up at 24, but the Bullets fight to the bitter end, but it's the Cubs coming away behind Claire Osman. Nevada wins at 52-45. A fantastic year ends in the semifinals once again for the Bullets as Nevada blocks their goal of an undefeated season.
Sometimes we don't really understand why things don't go our way, but I think, everything happens for a reason, and, God's put this in our life to drive us even harder, and a lot of us have great future basketball careers, and we'll use, what happened tonight to drive us even harder for that.
It's just something to remember. It's one of those things that all good things come to an end, and ours just came to an end a little bit sooner than we wanted it to.
I'm so blessed to be able to play basketball and my favorite sport with my best friends, and to make it this far is awesome.
It's going to hurt right now. It's going to hurt for quite a while. while, but when they look back on it, they're going to have great memories.
If Northern Iowa performs as well as it did during Thursday's awards banquet, it will be smooth sailing for the Panthers in this weekend's conference tournament. For the third time in 9 years, Ben Jacobson is the Missouri Valley Coach of the Year. Under his guidance, the Panthers posted a 27-3 record and even cracked the AP Top 10 for the first time in program history. Seth Tuttle received his Larry Bird Trophy today as the MVC Player of the Year. Wes Washburn won the Sixth Man Award, and Nate Buss, the Scholar Athlete of the Year. Friday, the Panthers faced the winner of the Drake-Bradley contest in their conference tournament opener. But whether it's the Fighting Joey Daniels or the Fighting Dan Pearsons, the other Ben is confident in his group.
It's important that we work hard on our team this week and not try to guess at who we're going to play, and spend half of our practice time on Drake and half of our practice time on Bradley. This week will be our transition defense, our half-court defense, our rebounding, sharpening up things with our offense, you know, the pace and the screening, and doing the things that we need to do with our group to be successful.
So we are marching right into the madness, Teresa. Just like those temperatures, I hope, right? Marching in the right direction?
Absolutely. Nowhere to go but up, and temperatures will start warming into the 30s for tomorrow, 30s for Saturday, some sunshine, a few clouds, some sprinkles on Sunday, highs near the 40-degree mark. 40s again on Monday, and look at this. Temperatures would normally hit right around 43 degrees for our high. We're going to be in the 50s for Tuesday and Wednesday under mostly sunny skies, looking for readings returning to the 40s on Thursday, but all in all, a pretty mild spell across the region and, for the most part, precipitation free.
All right, we want to take you back to our developing story tonight. Another look at the scene of this train derailment near Galena, Illinois. We have a crew on the scene getting more details, but here's what we have learned so far. 6 homes have now been evacuated around that derailment site.
Crews pulled the people living around there and the crews back 1 mile away from the fire. You can see the smoke coming from the crash, that explosion that happened there. 105-car train was carrying crude oil at the time. No injuries. Crews are on the scene, of course, assessing the damage. 2 cars were on fire, and as you can see, that is a heavily wooded area.
Some of the concerns tonight, fire, of course. We saw an up-close look from an aerial showing a lot of the trees on fire there. Containment of that fire, a big concern, but also how much of that oil potentially made it to the Mississippi. Early reports indicate that this may be on land, just away from the river a little bit. That would be positive news. But crews are ready to respond with oil booms if necessary. And from what we understand, talking with our water company sources tonight, they have not received any concern calls yet from that area. Well, the spill is under investigation.
Again, this area is Galena, near the Galena River, where it meets the Mississippi. So all that going on in our Joe Davies County, our area.
We will, of course, keep you updated throughout the evening online and on air right here at TV6.
Let's get you the hellos right now. They're from the Rock Island group, Papa's Helping Veterans.
See you, Ted.
Good night.
Hello, Quad Cities.
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 You're watching multi-award-winning KWQC TV6, the station that serves Illinois and Iowa every day.